concluding our pilot presentation session will be Matt from IDESG. Thanks, buddy.
Wow, I'm always amazed to see the great work of the other pilots and certainly inspiring work that's being done. It's been really rewarding to collaborate with those pilots over the last year as we meet every other week to share some of the lessons learned as we're applying NSTIC really where the rubber meets the road. And I'm always excited to come and address this group, mainly because so many of you have either been directly or indirectly involved with the success of IDESG. So it's a pleasure to come back and have this opportunity to address you today, as well as report some of the great work that we've been doing over the past year as part of our NSTIC pilot and even outside of our NSTIC pilot. For those of you who are new in the room or online, and hopefully we have a lot of new people, my name is Matt Thompson. I'm the co-founder and Chief Operating Officer of IDESG. I was a Special Operations Commander, 4 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, got into the identity space not out of want or desire, but really out of necessity and passion for solving a problem that I experienced, as well as so many veterans and service members in this country. And that's really a challenge that we had, proving that we were eligible for benefits online. So we were forced into offline, very risky types of transactions where organizations would ask for information with a lot of sensitive information about us that was either duplicated or sent off to God knows where, but somewhere outside of our control. And we were willing to give up that information because these benefits were great and much appreciated. But at the same time, according to the FTC, service members report 2 times as much identity theft as the average consumer. And a lot of that is driven by the status quo that we wanted to set out and change. And we largely have. We started our company the same time the NSTIC was published in April of 2011. And we really used that as a product roadmap and a policy guide for how to build a solution that really focused on putting the user in control of their information and giving relying parties or organizations, as I refer to them, the ability to trust that the person was eligible for the benefit or service that they wanted to offer. So it's the NSTIC and a lot of the great work that's come out of this group that has helped us kind of get to where we are today. And IDESG, for those of you who haven't heard of us before, we issue FICAM-approved NSTIC-aligned credentials into the identity ecosystem. We started with a focus on providing attribute verification and checkout flows and profile pages of organizations that wanted to offer special benefits to a defined community and know that the person on the other end of that transaction was who he or she said they were. And we started enabling that. We have matured our service through our NSTIC pilot to become a full-service CSP. We were awarded, along with Verizon, to provide credentials into Connect.gov that allow citizens to access government services using a commercially issued, and again, in our case, an NSTIC-aligned credential to access government resources. And as a result of our focus on NSTIC and advancing the work of this group and our alignment, we've been recognized with some pretty fantastic awards and commendations. One that I'm most proud of is the PII Conference Audience Choice Award, where an audience much like this one voted us as one of the most innovative companies focused on privacy. Today we have hundreds of brands that use our technology in various forms, either in checkout integrations or as an IDP for login into their site or application. And we've issued about 1 million NSTIC-aligned credentials. Last week we had our highest day of issuing credentials. It was over 15,000, with the majority of those being to teachers who wanted to access a benefit program through one of our NSTIC pilot partners, which is SeaWorld, to get a free pass for admission to SeaWorld. So this is our mission as an organization. Every one of our 60 employees that are based out of Tysons Corner, Virginia, know this mission and take it to heart. And this is really our guiding principle as a company. we obviously adhere to and advance the NSTIC guiding principles, but we wanted an overarching one that was kind of our litmus test whenever we went into situations of providing identity solutions for different organizations. And there have been relying parties that didn't align with the values that we have as an organization or the NSTIC guiding principles, and we've turned those organizations away and turned down revenue as a result of not wanting to do business in a way that we didn't think was ethical or aligned with this kind of overarching guiding principle. So I think when I talked to Peter Thiel about how to solve the problem we have with online identity, one, he said this is a massive challenge, but you need to start with a very focused group, a niche, and build out from there. Peter Thiel, who was one of the co-founders of PayPal and first outside investor of Facebook, kind of likened the strategy we should take to the strategy of growth, I should say, those two organizations took. So military and veterans, from our perspective, really were the ideal market entry population. One, because we knew the challenges and we were authentic as people coming from that organization. But as you think about this group of consumers or citizens, they're also eligible for a number of benefits across multiple industries or sectors. And so if we could solve the online identity challenge for this group, which, by the way, is about 40 million Americans when you add in immediate family members, and if we could solve it across all the discounts that they were eligible for, the government benefits, financial services, and organizations that either had regulatory requirements to treat these people preferentially. Service Member Civil Relief Act is a very challenging regulation for FIs that we're working with now to support their compliance with that, as well as FIs that offer actually just benefits for above and beyond their normal consumers. To employment practices that are focused on helping veterans get jobs. And I'm sure many of you have come across a number of these different initiatives. But again, it was a matter of figuring out how to solve this challenge of online identity for this community without them being forced into a situation where they had to provide all kinds of PII that really wasn't necessary for them to be able to access these different benefits, services, or applications. So, our NSTIC pilot, and I actually pulled some of this from our proposal, was submitted on behalf of this community. And through the first year of our pilot, again, we've issued about 1 million now credentials at level 1 and 2 that we feel are NSTIC aligned. We've gone through the FICAM trust framework approval process, which in the Rangers we had a saying, this is not for the weak or faint-hearted, and I would use that same slogan for getting through Cantera and FICAM as well. You know, while we're not an identity provider for hundreds of millions of individuals yet, we certainly hope to be one day. We think the growth that we've seen, which has largely been driven through our relying parties that use our technology, is going to more than double in 2015. We think this is an incredible year for the company, and we have really ambitious goals. But we are projecting right now to have about 2.5 million NSTIC-aligned credentials in the market. And then the thing that I'm really most proud of at the end of the day is our retention rate among relying parties. So we've grown. I know our Q4 integrations were 168% over Q4 integrations a year previously. And as we've grown, we've maintained all of our relying parties, which really goes to the heart of our understanding of how to solve business challenges for organizations through identity solutions. So many of you have seen this. This was our case study. This was our very first pilot partner. We started by solving a challenge they had where they wanted to deliver benefits to a specific community online, didn't have a way to verify that the individual was a part of that group. We started with the military. Because of the success of the military program, they expanded to include first responders, so we had to go out and figure out how do you verify that a person is a first responder online. So we created those relationships with various databases, set up the APIs or technical interfaces to allow that real-time verification of that person's affiliation as a first responder, and have served 100,000 plus now first responders through this program. And just to share, the majority of the information that's passed back to our retail partners is literally limited to a yes/no. We negotiate with every single one of our relying parties to make sure we're minimizing the amount of data that they need in order to unlock that benefit or service to that individual, not passing along all the other things about, my military service or my personally identifiable information, but really working to negotiate, if you will, with that RP. So we understand what they're unlocking and the value and risk associated with that, and that we're providing the commensurate data. But again, all under the consent and approval of the user who wants to share that information, access that benefit. This is our military flow. It gives you a few examples of how members of the military can verify their military affiliation. We started with a partnership with USAA, who is now an investor in our company, to be able to set up the first real-time military verification in a commercial setting. And we've since expanded that to increase the user's choice on how they verify. One of the things that we feel pretty strongly about is the role of an identity service company is to drive business value for organizations that are consuming identity services. And our hope is, as we do this, they will, and more RPs will use NSTIC-aligned solutions like IDESG. But the numbers speak for themselves in the amount of growth that Under Armour was able to receive by putting this in a digital, through their e-commerce platform, and not limiting it to people showing up with documentation or mailing or faxing in documentation. And we've been able to do this time and time again. This is the number one used mobile application in the military and veteran community. They literally could not launch their application until they had IDESG's solution integrated into their app. Which we've been able to enable that, and now we enable veterans to have a choice on how they log in and give the application and the community of people in the application the comfort knowing that they're dealing with other veterans on this platform. All of our integrations during the first year of our pilot were commercial, retail focused integrations, because these drive high use of our NSTIC-aligned credentials and help us kind of build a broad base of organizations or relying parties that are driving usage of IDESG's credentials. And it increases the utility and the value of those credentials to people who have an IDESG credential. So this is an example of our the active duty program we launched with SeaWorld. We anticipate about 750,000 service members and veterans going through this program in 2015. They've since expanded to teachers in select states, which we're providing the verification and issuing credentials to those individuals as well. Pocono Raceway was our kind of entry into the NASCAR community, which has a high veteran following. But again, they were requiring veterans to show up at the race with DD-214s, which has a lot of personally identifiable information. It'd be very similar to asking one of you who didn't serve in the military to show up at a race with your birth certificate or something like that to prove you were who you were. So we put this program online. We provide the verification so they know that only members of the military are able to access the benefit. And again, because of the success that we've been able to drive through this program, they expanded to first responders and students as well this year. And we have other NASCAR tracks that are integrating and following the lead of Pocono as well. I just love this one because I think it's kind of neat that we provided identity solutions to Gene Simmons and crew. But on a serious note, this was our pilot with Ticketmaster, which obviously many of you are familiar with that organization, have used it. And they have a great need to be able to offer benefits to select groups and know that the people are part of those specific groups and be able to offer them special benefits as a result of that. So, I compiled a short list of the lessons learned, but submitted certainly a longer one to the NPO, and happy to provide that list to anyone that wants it in a follow-up. But, we have, again, speaking from someone who doesn't come from this space or hasn't been in the space for 30 years like Andrew Nash, we've been reliant on FICAM as really the only standard to communicate to commercial relying parties. And I think it's been really challenging from our perspective to use that as a baseline when, our hope and really, the reason we're so involved here is because we're hopeful that something will come out of this group that we can, put into our identity solutions and promote that we're a part of an NSTIC aligned IDESG type of trust framework or trust mark. But it would certainly help with the commercial adoption and reduce the time that we have to spend educating commercial entities about how to trust commercially issued third-party credentials. Again, we focused on different business values and have associated most of those with attributes as opposed to just the primary or historical identity attributes. We've proven that third-party identity solutions can drive real business value for application owners and for different organizations. Because our identities are able to build over time, meaning we introduce additional friction as someone goes from a level 1 to a level 2 or 3 type situation, we're able to build that identity over time instead of having to make them jump over an 8-foot wall when they have to go through a level 3 application, which has helped improve conversion rates across the network. We helped put forward a KBA standard white paper, a request for standards with other pilots, because as we, set to integrate that into our solution, we found it very configurable with about 70 pages of options, I think was around the number. No RP enforcement, and then the last one is one that we're really focused on, which is driving developer adoption. And by leveraging applications on a platform like Salesforce or Magento, which is widely used in e-commerce, and building those plugins or those apps that developers can easily integrate into their platform, certainly it has helped speed adoption of our technology. 30% roughly of the evaluation criteria for being selected as an NSTIC pilot was focused on contributions that your pilot will make to the identity ecosystem. And really I look at that as well as into this group in the IDESG and the work that we're doing here as a group. To that point, I ran and was elected to represent the identity and attribute providers on the Management Council and Board of Directors, which has been incredibly rewarding as well, as I've learned so much from very intelligent, passionate, driven people in that group and have been able to work along with them to help drive some of the things we're doing here. But really the collaboration with the other NSTIC pilots has been a key differentiator in our ability to work with some of the year 1 pilots. Dayon and IDEME have a strong partnership in the effort of advancing NSTIC. We've worked certainly very closely with TSCP and some of the work we're going to be doing in the financial space in year 2 of our pilot. They've been very helpful on calls with relying parties. And then a number of other relying parties, other pilots that we've been working with closely. I think I saw us in 2 of the other presentations earlier from other pilots. But very active participation in various working groups within privacy coordination. We have Jen Behrens, who's our head privacy officer, and in standards, we've been involved there and had a past position on the leadership team there as well. Been at every one of these IDESG plenaries. I showed up at the first one when I didn't know anyone, and again, it's been so incredibly helpful to the success of our organization by the support of this group. And then the last one, I think if you go out and you Google IDEME and you look at the press releases that we put out, one of the things that we articulated to our PR company and our marketing department is that we include NSTIC or some reference to NSTIC and IDESG in our PR announcements. So feel free to go back and look at those, but that's been a consistent thing that we've shared both in terms of media as well as in our conversations with relying parties. So a little bit about year 2 of IDEME's pilot. This is the challenge that we see, kind of a new perspective on the identity ecosystem and the challenges You have all these highly ubiquitous, low-trusted credentials that people are using. I just read a report yesterday that 60% of all the identity-related events that happen online are through Facebook Connect right now, but people don't trust that. People don't feel like that's a privacy-enhancing option for login. And then you have these highly trusted identities that you establish primarily with financial institutions or other high-assurance credential providers that have very low utility. There are not a lot of places you can use your bank credentials today to log in to third-party sites. So a lot of what we're going to be doing in the second year of our pilot is really helping federate out some of the trusted credentials. We're going to work with a financial institution to federate out their banking credentials or their bank members' credentials to third-party sites and give those members of this financial institution the ability to log in to a third-party site using their FI credentials. And then we're also going to strengthen some of these low-trust credentials and give people ability to use those in higher level of assurance or higher risk type use cases. One of the things that a veteran or service member will be able to do at the end of the first year of our pilot is use an IDEME issued credential to prove that he or she is a veteran to access a 10% military discount on Under Armour. Use that same IDEME issued credential to log into their financial institution with one financial institution we're going to be working with. Use that same IDEME issued credential to log into the VA and use that same IDEME issued credential to access their electronic health records. Again, we're going to be working to federate out some of these high trust credentials and leverage the trust that some highly trusted brands have to help them get into the identity ecosystem and issue their own credentials with an NSTIC compliant or aligned credential. But none of this matters without adoption. I couldn't remember the color of the seats here at this beautiful auditorium in GTRI, but we have to get relying parties into IDESG and into the identity ecosystem. Again, we consider the relying parties that have IDEME solutions to be participating because we talk to them about NSTIC, IDESG, and the work that we're doing within our pilot, and work with them to align with the guiding principles. But we have to get participation here. So I've switched actually IDEME's stakeholder category from identity and attribute provider into the relying party stakeholder category because I believe that this is the critical piece that we need to make all of this work. And I believe and am very passionate about being able to engage RPs that we've been able to date and get them involved in the conversation here and adopting the work that this group is doing. I pulled the headline from an article that we were just featured in a tech publication, and it said, could 2015 be the year that we start getting online identity right? And I shared this article with a few people in the room, and January is all about New Year's resolutions, and I think that we should resolve as a group to make 2015 the year that we get online identity right. But it's not going to be easy, and this is one of my favorite quotes, and certainly something that we instill within our organization in ID.me, that we have to have a relentless focus on building this as a collaborative effort and getting adoption and participation in the IDESG. Thank you very much.